IT support, go for Kevin.
Hey, I think the network's down.
No, the network is not down. Network support, this is Kevin.
The network's down.
It's not the network. Before you ask, no, it's not the network.
I can't check my email. Is the network okay?
It's not the network. There's something on their side. I assure you the network is working. This actually looks like a server problem. Calling me from a voice over IP. We will look into it, but network's fine. It may be something we can assure you the network is working.
Is something wrong with the network?
No, everything's fine. For the love of all things holy in this world, all of the ones and zeros that make up binary, no, the network is fine. We've got a NetPath checking the service every so often, and it's clean all the way through.
Are you sure? Because the network was a problem last week.
Okay. It technically wasn't our network that was a problem last week, but I can show you that. So the way NetPath does this, we've got clients basically placed wherever we want, and they all connect to a target service. And that service can be any TCP port. It can be 443. It can be 80. If you're feeling a little crazy, it can be 22 or 1433 or 3389 or whatever you want. It doesn't matter. That port can be anywhere, any place on the internet, any place on your internal infrastructure. It can be anything. But what we'll do is we'll collect this information by sending traffic that actually pretends to be the application. So it's not like a ping, it's not like a trace route. It behaves and looks like trace route, but it's not trace route because it's application aware. It knows that it needs to do a communication on port, 1433. And if it's trying to make that SQL-like call, it makes sure they can hit every single hop. And every single hop, it interrogates that particular device, normally a router or some type of networking switch, and interrogates and finds out all the possible output paths. Then has to go through and interrogate all of those, and then all of those, and then all of those. And thankfully, what everyone's complaining about is something simple, and we run it, and it's just a point-to-point. Go out of our infrastructure, hit the server. Ta-da! And it's fine.
Well, that sounds awesome and like an easy win for us. So show me what we've got.
Okay, so here's our client. It's sitting in one of our data centers, and this is the same location where people are calling and saying they're having a problem. But you can see it hops all the way through our infrastructure without a problem, all the way to the end, which is out on a private 10 network, somewhere else out in the infrastructure. It's not a problem. We can look at every single spot. So we can look at the devices we actually know, like if we look at this core switch, well, it has a warning, but it's green because it doesn't affect this traffic. If we want to look at the interface, here's the inbound interface. Everything is fine on that interface. And then here's our WAN router, and we're watching both sides. So we can look at the ingress and the egress, and everything is fine, and everything is fine, and everything is fine. Have you noticed a theme here? Everything is fine. It is not a network problem.
I think we need one of these for we need way more of these. We need one of these for every line of business application we've got.
And from every location. One of my favorite ways to use this is actually put it on one of the power users' workstations or laptops, let's be serious. And when they're out in the field somewhere and they're saying, it's acting bad. Well, as long as that thing's up, it's trying to make these calls. And then you can see where they are and see the network infrastructure that they're coming from and whether or not it's going over your VPN or maybe it's going outside your VPN because it's a traditional SaaS application. And you can see that maybe that is location dependent. Maybe there's a routing problem actually at one of the service providers, like the level 3s or the MCIs or one of the big backbones. If there's a routing problem that only affects IPs in a certain region, then maybe we are having a problem. And the best way to get visibility is to actually put this out as many places as possible and just say, hey, I want you to check this service. Because that's what you do. You define the service once and say, I want this device to watch that service, and this device, and that one over there. And this one I put out in AWS I want to watch, or this one's over in Azure or Cloud Compute or wherever, or your desktop at your house. Probably not recommended, but could be done. So we know. And before you ask, yes, there was a problem last week. It wasn't really that horrific. We had a little uptick in times. So There you go. We saw a little bit of packet loss. On this very last hop, we had 8.1% packet loss, which would normally cause me to panic, but this is not our infrastructure. This is the provider's infrastructure. So I can call the provider and say, hey, this link is showing a problem. By the way, it's coming from this IP, going to this IP, and this was the problem at this time slice. So,
Awesome.
Not the network.
Well, that's last week's problem. Let's focus on the problem that we're having right now, because people are still screaming it's the network, even though we know it's not the network. So how do we figure out what it is? And let's go figure out where the problem actually is.
Okay, fine. Not our job, but let's do it. So
you're right. You're right. It's not our job, but plays well with others is good for a resume. I'm just saying. It also gets problem solved faster. We don't want to be those grumpy, doesn't work with anyone network admins. We want to be network admins that help solve problems so that everyone stops blaming the network and the network admins for messing everything up.
Okay. So we can already prove that we can get to this thing and we can get to it clean and everything looks good. Now the thing is that thing, which this is on what port? This is on 80, so this is a web server. Let's see how the web server is doing that. And the easiest way to do that is we can just, being monitored, let's just click on it. And then we can go to the node. And now I am bored because this is not network stuff. So please.
Well, I'm sorry, but scroll down because I think that I saw the app stack there, and that's what I want to look at.
All right, that's a lot of data.
So in the app stack, you can clearly see all of the things that are connected to this web server. So we can see where problems are, because clearly the problem is with this web server or something connected to the web server that's not the network, but is still a problem. So how does app stack work?
Because I was the guy that set up monitoring, I also set this part up. It's not my responsibility, but this is how it works. What we're actually going to do is poll the hypervisor. So in our infrastructure, we're going to ask for all the hypervisors, the VMware, the Nutanix, the Microsoft Hyper-V, and ask them about basically a layer up and a layer down. So we'll poll the hypervisors, and then we'll take that information and connect it to one level up and one level down. So we've got that information all about virtualization. Then we need to understand the servers, both the physical ones and the virtual ones. So we can talk to those servers directly, or we can sort of proxy into them via the hypervisor. If they're mission critical or they're line of business critical, probably watch them directly. But what's nice about that is we'll also get information from them about their applications. So we know about the servers, hardware, serial numbers, model, OS version, stuff like that. And then we can watch the applications that run on top of those. And then you got to go the other way. So for the far side of that is we can talk to the storage arrays, pretty much any of the major vendors. We'll talk to the storage array, and the storage arrays know about their LUN groups, their disk groups, whatever terminology they use, all the way out to the LUN that is probably connected to either a physical server or a hypervisor of some kind and is being used as a resource back and forth. So we actually have all of these layers, but there's one more layer we're not talking about yet, and that's the database level. And the database server, specifically database management servers, we can talk to the database and ask the database stuff about the child. In this case, it would be the servers on which it runs, whether it's a single or a cluster, just kind of get some information back on that. And because we get that information also connects to any of the LUNs or any of the storage information. And that means just by watching these 4 different distinct places, we know the entire infrastructure.
Which is huge. Thank you for reminding me what AppStack does. So if we go back to the node details page, we can see in AppStack that there's clearly some problems with stuff attached to this web server. So we can see that there's a couple of down volumes, which is our storage. We can see that there's a down application, which if you hover over, I think is IIS having problems. which, might be where our problem is. We don't know. There's some other things in critical state. So we can just send somebody this information and have them look at the abstract. And even without going through that wonderful detailed description you gave of how it works, they can quickly see everything connected to it and what the problems are. And it's all in bright colors for them. So they can't say that they didn't know or they didn't see it or that it's the network when clearly there's application problems.
Yeah, the trick with this, though, is this is right now, like now. If we had this problem over the weekend, then we need to get this kind of stack data for 2 days ago, or 6 days ago, or a month ago if it was a while ago. And this display is just not going to be suitable for that.
That's true. It's not good for forensic information. So if we want forensic information, we should switch over to a performance analysis dashboard.
Okay, so we've got one built here for the hybrid cloud front end that someone took the time to build, said, I want to bring in my availability and some statistics from the database, and then I want to pull in some storage because we were seeing storage problems, so it's kind of nice that it's in here. And this is, well, it's everything. I mean, it's literally every single thing that we think could be a problem with this device. And it's all here for easy consumption. Doesn't matter whether you're on the network team, it's not a network problem. It doesn't matter if you're on the apps team or the database team or the storage team or even the vert team or your server team. All the information is in here and you can see it time sliced. What I like about this is because you'll maybe see something where a specific perf counter jumps up really high at a certain time and you're like, oh, it was a red herring, it just kind of happened. And it does, but maybe that has some downstream effects that 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes later, all of a sudden there's a jump in RAM consumption, or this other process goes nuts, or something else is just chewing through the memory. Whatever it happens to be, unless you see it in this kind of time slice, and specifically a moving time slice, you're not going to understand what's happening with that. And that's why I like these, and it's just really convenient to build one of these and just be like, here, have it.
Right. And those red herrings are all over the place because, we're network. I mean, we don't necessarily know what we're looking at. Just because something is red doesn't mean that it's impactful. Like a database server is going to have high memory like all the time because if it's running SQL, because Microsoft SQL eats memory like for breakfast. So if that's a problem, it looks like a problem to our monitoring. It's all critical if we didn't configure it exactly as we should have. But if we're on the network side, I don't configure servers. I don't manage databases. I don't do any of that. So how do I know that this is critical or not critical? All I'm trying to do is get data into the hands of the people that can fix the problem so that they stop yelling at us and they stop running around like crazy people screaming about the network is down and everything is broken.
Yeah. And so what you're telling me, though, if I do a quick diagnosis, if it walks like a duck, sounds like a duck, and smells like a duck, it's a SQL database. So we'll blame the database team, and they'll just come back and blame the network team again anyway.
No. We don't want to blame anybody. That's what we're trying to get away from.
Yeah. I think I did find the problem, though. So if I want to dig in, if you notice there's a config change that happened right here.
Yep.
I can go ahead and dig into that change. And someone tweaked the IIS. And now IIS isn't running. Maybe we need to undo this fix because it's not really fixing anything.
But the important thing is we're not going to just go back and say, ha, this was not a network problem. This is a config change that somebody made to an IIS server. What we're going to say is, here is your data. Now you can resolve the issue. And then, we all play well together. We're all nice. We're all friends. We're helping each other out. We're getting everything running again. Because when it's a line of business application, it doesn't matter whose problem it is. It doesn't matter who's to blame. You have to get it up and running as soon as possible.
Yeah, and we've all been in those meetings. We've been dragged in last minute. You're in the middle of a huge project, and they're like, application ABC isn't working. And you're like, not my problem. And like, but we need a representative from you, from your team in here to take part of these discussions. And okay, can I still read my email? Can I still do my day job? And by actually providing this information to a lot of people, you can maybe get around that. You should still be there. You should be, what's the term I've heard people use? Hot standby. It's like, cool, I will be on hot standby for this, but it doesn't appear to be my problem. If it turns out that I am incorrect or it's something that I'm not watching the way I should be watching, by all means, come back to me. I will have zero problem putting it into monitoring, building you a new perf stack diagnosis, and then we can work from there.
Yeah. Yeah. Really start sending people this, have these perf stack, dashboards ready, or, better yet, have a modern dashboard ready that we can just give them for the line of business application. A modern dashboard we can have information overload on, and at a high level, or dig down as much as we need to, and include our performance analysis in there, so it's already in the same place. So they have all the information, and we can share it between users, so they don't have to build another one. They can just copy it and have it for their own. They can make tweaks to it if they want on their own. And then that way they have that information, and, we're over here on hot standby, but everybody's happier with us because we played ball. We helped out a little bit by sharing what information we could from the monitoring application, which we unfortunately own, even though we're the network team.
Yeah. And I think a lot of our customers are in a very similar scenario. And what having these tools at your disposal is really helping you do is kind of short circuit this blame game. Because everyone says, is it a network problem? And unfortunately, in the real world, network means I just can't get to a thing.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what that thing is, just a thing. So the network blames the apps, the app blames the database blames the vert and the servers, and the server team blames the storage, and the storage team blames the network. And it's this never-ending cycle. But by having these tools available to you, you can short circuit that guy. Now, maybe you will not be able to say, oh, it's most definitely this config problem. But it might be this database config problem caused this uptick in database I/O, which overstressed these things. And that's the kind of stuff that the perf stack will be able to give you, because you'll be able to see this happened, then up here this metric changed, then this metric changed. So you'll understand the progression of events through your infrastructure. And then, yeah, throw it onto a dashboard. Give that dashboard to everybody. Give that dashboard to your help desk.
Yeah.
Because that's a great place to start, because they should be the ones that are actually hearing these calls from the wild about it being a network problem. And what I like about dashboards is anyone, nearly anyone, can make one. You don't have to be an Orion admin. You don't have to have super user rights. You need to have dashboard management rights, which means everything you're allowed to see, you can pull data from, and you can build one of these, including any of the app stacks, or any of the perf stacks that have gone through and been approved and saved. You can just come in here and dump it right in here, like this West Data Center one. Easy. And then if I like this one and I want it slightly different, I can just build my own and steal these widgets. And all of the configuration for those widgets just come right across. So I'm not relearning the wheel every single time. I just want to take something that someone else built. And it's easier than doing an export import. You just grab it and be like, mine.
Yeah, if I'm not the administrator for the whole Orion platform, I don't need to go, read the admin guide or watch a bunch of tutorials. I can just go do one thing, copy pasta,
Mm-hmm.
make it work, borrow from someone else to, make things better for yourself and for everyone else. Because the quicker we can resolve these issues, as you like to think, slow is the new down. And that is so true all the time. People have absolutely no patience. And, our end users are no different. Our customers are no different. They're slow is bad. Slow is very bad. So when something actually goes down, it's actually mission critical to get it resolved quickly. And even though the network is a critical piece of all that infrastructure, and we're only responsible for the network, and that's what we care about, we should, we're over here thinking, I don't want to care about anything else. I don't need to care about anything else. I'm not going to fix it. Well, you're not going to fix it, but if we can have this information readily available, and we can spend less time in those meetings that we have to sit through and wait, twiddle our thumbs, and can't get to our normal jobs while they try and resolve the issue because you're the representative from the network team, as Kevin mentioned earlier, then, that's what we want to do. Save everybody time, save our businesses money where we can, because that looks good. We get a pat on the back. Maybe we get a raise out of it. Who knows? I can't guarantee anything.
Yeah, but it's a win-win. By better informing all of the IT departments, by giving the same information, instead of having it interpreted 17 different ways by 17 different technicians, by showing it the same way to every single team, even if you get dragged into those meetings, they'll probably resolve quicker because you're not diagnosing every single thing and every single moving part. You're looking at the portions of like that app stack where there is a yellow or a red. You're not worried about everywhere where it's green. But in the olden days, you would typically have to troubleshoot each of those to mark them off the list. And it's just easier to kind
spend
of
all
have
your
this surfaced.
time digging through individual no details pages. Well, it wasn't this, so let's go to figure out maybe it's this. Well, now we can see all of the connected information all in one place and get what we need to get there faster. Well, that's all well and good. That's all great. So where do we stand on today's issue?
Looks like an IIS problem. Might be a config issue. Looks like it's affecting some stuff downstream. It's still not the network, but at least we can be nice about it and say, probably start your troubleshooting here, and I'll be here if you need me.
It wasn't the network this time, but it could be the network next time. And if we play well this time, maybe everyone won't start screaming at us next time. We can hope. Fingers crossed.
That would be nice.